Yes. Yeah, man. Sunday. Sunday afternoon. Sunday scoops. Scoops time. Why, Richard, I look forward to this from the blowy diapers and share it by squeaky.
Okay, okay, yeah, forgot. I forgot.
And some scandal stool and stolen. It reminds some old bed spring mattress.
I'm one of the people out there understand where it is that you seem to be going.
So, back in the days of high school, we had a boarding house, and the mattresses that used to be there was Kaya. I don't know if anybody's ever slept on a Kaya mattress, spelled Coir, and basically the content of the coconut nut, not the part where you get the meat and the coconut water, the outer covering under the skin, when it's dried, they pull that apart and stuff it into some pattern and create a mattress. And them thing they used to be very prickly, hook you when you're asleep. And it is because it's organic material, it is also known to harbor insects like bed bugs and them things.
Chink, man, but bed bug. The thing went right name. The thing named Chink.
Bridget, and everybody will listen to it.
No.
Anyways, good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Sunday Scoops. My name is Big G, and beside me is using his word, his famous words, the erstwhile Richie Blackford. And today we have the honor of presenting one of the most understated Jamaican artists. The man is not only just an artist, he is a singer, he is a songwriter, he is a balladeer, he used to deliver a record. A typical Jamaican, he have 5 jobs. So, and we're talking about none other than
Wilfred Jackie Edwards. No, okay, if you say Jackie Edwards, people might wonder who you're talking. No. Wilfred Jackie Edwards. Granted, that's not where mother christened him doing, but Jamaican people, the man them say, once they come in the studio, they feel like Coxon and Drew Creed look for you. I said, what you need? I said, no, man, that name doesn't sound good, man.
yes.
But he was better known as Wilfred Jackie Edwards.
And before we get into it, Richard, let me just let the people who don't know and who may have heard this song understand who this man is. Now, for those people who like tree stepping, this is it. Steppers Throne.
Absolute steppers. What is funny is we are known across the world from a Jamaica standpoint in terms of ska, rocksteady,
and reggae. And
dancehall to this extent. But there's a whole heap of music that was happening in Jamaica between this period. I mean, Jackie Edwards was born in Kingston. His mother christened him Wilfred Gerald Edwards. And of course, in the studio, he came to be known as Jackie Edwards. And I suspect God just coming out of the period 1940, he started singing at around 14 years old. So we're talking about 1954, 55. And this was during the period of the talent contest.
And the beginning periods of Jamaican recording.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, because the talent contest, the recording industry was actually spawned by the talent contest of the period, for the simple reason. Once Jamaicans started to fall in love with hearing them voice on a record, absolutely, and a lot of the sound systems started to gobble up this kind of material because this was easier for them in terms of gaining access to. Them could easily order a special tune made to their own suiting, and then them use that tune to kill any other sound that them have, because this was a period of the sound clash, and
special.
Absolutely. And so, the talent contest, I suspect that the Jackie part of his name would have been taken from somebody like a Jackie Wilson, because in that time, everybody sing like a Jackie Wilson or a Nat King
But
Cole
the
or
thing is that him sound like a
Nat King Cole.
Yeah, man.
But you know, this was the period that spawned him, and of course, you know, Jackie Edwards would continue in the music business all the way up to, you know, the early 1990s, and so he spanned that whole era of ska, R&B, soul, rock steady, reggae, you know, and was known as a balladeer. But you know, as we go through the next 2 hours, you will see that not only was he noted for the music that he was singing, but his talent as a songwriter. He had very little equal, and we're gonna take
them showing us some what you call souls.
yeah.
You know? but to also further cement how much this guy sounded like a Nat King Cole, I'm gonna play a song that when I listened to it, the first time I heard it, I thought it was Nat King Cole. But I mean, after the first couple of verses, not verses, but first couple of lines, you realize it was Nat King Cole. But in just listening it on my headphones when I was prepping for the show, I realized exactly why they would say it was Jamaica's Nat King Cole. And as if you've been listening to us in the past couple of weeks when we've had Charlie Organ here on, you'll hear him say that for every big American artist there was a Jamaican artist.
A Jamaican sounded
sounded like that American artist. So here is, again, Mr. Jackie Edwards with a cover of a Nat King Cole, Love Has Been Good. Tell me that you're not listening to Nat King Cole, right? You're going to tell me you're not listening to Nat King Cole.
No, but you listen when he says there was a girl. Yeah, you get that the same intonation that will come
from say the same register.
Yeah. I mean,
I had my wheat this morning.
Yeah, but that vocal register, to your term, you get it once he pulled that line thing. But again, God, this is the talent show environment completely, because everybody had to be, you know, you want to sound like somebody that from an international standpoint the Jamaican audience can identify with, and this Nat King Cole, there are some songs which when we play them you will think you get that Jackie Wilson register as well, but it was clear that this was the influence from the talent show period. Remember, though, at the time, we weren't necessarily making music for ourselves, because one of the things, too, it wasn't until probably in the mid-60s.
Well, Scaddies. The 60s.
Yeah. That the you know, the writers were now writing songs based on their own experiences. So the tendency,
most of the time was covered.
They were covering other people's work,
and they were to try and mirror it as much as possible.
Absolutely, because again, remember, you know, part of the thing too, a lot of the sound system operators at the time didn't have access to going to foreign, where them could pick up an original tune, and that was largely the purview of somebody like a Coxsone or a Duke Reed. Right. So the smaller sound man needed to have a song that you know you can use that and floor the competition. So
but then talk about the sound man having that song. Most of these songs, when they were produced, especially if it was produced by a Coxsone, was not released until it get ring out.
I think
he's not sharing with nobody.
I think what happened is by the time we got to say 62, 63, when the studios were now opening up, everybody know Duke Reed had by this time set up his own studio. Coxsone had set up Studio One. Then, and of course, the Kong brothers were setting up Beverly's.
Right.
It became important that the commercial value of the record was now being pursued because making a record for the sound system alone wasn't doing much in terms of covering the cost. And plus, remember too, in that 1960s period, a lot of Jamaicans were now living in England and in other areas of Europe, to a lesser extent, the United States, and wanted to get a piece of the musical action, if you will. And so the studios were now going into producing record for sale and export, right? By this time to Chris Blackwell, because Chris Blackwell was one of the persons who basically put Jackie Edwards on the map. I think they met somewhere around 58, 59. And Jackie Edwards would have been still a teenager, pushing late 19, early 20s, and had basically made his name on the recording circuit. And of course, Blackwell, hearing the voice, recognizing the talent, decided to take him under his wings. And he put on a couple.
1962.
Right, but this was
moved back.
well. He 59. He was still here back there in Jamaica, and he did a couple of records for Blackwell, which kind of served to register him. I think one of them you played earlier. But he wrote a couple of songs, included songs like Keep On Running, Somebody Help Me. These were the door opener, if you will. By 62, he would have gone to England with Blackwell. And of course, apart from, Blackwell took him with him as a vocalist. And, of course, he might exploit him as a good opportunity to see what he can get out of him, both in terms of his musical output as a singer, and him use him as a record salesman, as you pointed out in the introduction. He was over there in London delivering records, on the back of bicycle.
Already.
Yeah. And our back of cab, and him go all over, because that's how Blackwell launched Island Records. Island Records was not necessarily into production of records, but more in the distribution side.
And sales.
Right. Sales and distribution. And Jackie Edwards would have been a big part of that. But I think what you want to do is get a little taste. A little.
Now we're getting a cool entree to them, no taste now gone. But 1963, but before even get to that, the two songs that Richard was talking about was done for a British rock group called the Spencer Davis Group. And they're Keep On Running and Somebody Help Me. And both of these songs were written by Jackie Edwards. Now, one of the things that you need to know is these two songs charted. They were number one singles.
Number one, I think Keep On Running was a number one song.
Yeah, they both charted.
And the other one was number two or number 7, if I remember correctly.
At the tender age of 19, 20, this man had 2 international hits written.
On the British chart.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he was credited as songwriter.
Yeah, I think he did. I think based on the research that I did, because that's what kept him. The thing though, just to give people, Spencer Davis Group was a British band that was formed in 1963. Two of the great, the Winwood brothers, Steve Winwood, and his brother Muff. Steve was the vocalist and he played keyboard, and his brother was the guitarist. It's really a trio, but this was their first chart hit as well, and so not only was it themselves, but Jackie Edwards, who was also a part of the spotlight. Of course, say Blackwell, that can go on and him now have a taste. But giving the listeners out there an indication. Sometimes, we talk about Jamaican musicians, we talk about the artists, and we talk about those artists who bust early, Millie Small and Desmond Decker and so on. But Jackie Edwards would have been ahead of the game. So because we're talking about having a hit in 1963. Eh? That was long before we were keeping scores as to where our music was
How much
going.
impact we had on the music.
Absolutely.
I wanted to work to do one song, but I'm going to give you a little introduction to a song that you probably heard a lot of Sunday afternoons on Jamaican radio. Again, assuming that you're from Jamaica and you're listening. And it is this song.
You cannot do that and expect to get away with it. That is a song that take me back to 1963, 64, when the old lady had prepared Sunday dinner. Right? They had a show, a radio show. It was on RJR at the time. Right? Oh, you know what them some thing. And you're a little boy. Eh?
I was like a big boy.
Because this was a song that every Sunday, you are correct. I can't remember the name of the program, but this was the song that introduced the program. You will come to the feast today, and as I say, when you see the table spread with loving care, I remember my old lady, I put out the dinner, the Sunday dinner, rice and peas, just a come off of the cold stove, eh? And nobody can cook a rice, where she may get to learn the rice and peas cooking from. When my old lady cook a rice and peas. So that song you just did stirred a hell of a lot of memory.
Brought you back.
You may go on, sir.
Let's take this one from the top. News in Jamaica. Never the same. Never the same.
No, I tell you, you really you go down far into the back sometimes because this song.
I have to brush off the cobwebs off of that one.
There were a couple of radio personalities coming out of that period. Hendricks was one of them. He had a show that used to come on RJR with the Reverend VB.
Didn't even Gospel Train.
Yeah, the Gospel Train. That was the name of the program, the Gospel Train. And this is where, ironically, we were losing out, that we were getting rid of a lot of this American commercial church music. Because by this time now, these guys had found them putting, Otis Wright,
yes.
and so on. And of course, Jackie Edwards, is only dusting off the tune them for this program. You realize that Jackie Edwards had a massive catalog of work,
Yes.
and a lot of his work. Yeah.
Originally, we were planning on doing the Jackie Edwards and Bill Sherman.
Right.
But when I looked at the catalog that we had in front of us, the Jackie Edwards, there's no way that we're going to be doing a 2-hour show today and still cover half of the songs. I mean, I put together about 30 songs or so for today's show. And trust me, and that's one of the reasons why we can afford to give you more than just a cursory glance at each song. Because every single one of these songs, even if you don't know it, it sounds like you hear it already.
The beauty of this catalog too is, as I just demonstrated earlier, it take you back down the road. You saw that the minute the song come up, you got a sense of what was I doing, where was I at the time, or the song basically it places you at a particular point in your life, and I think we're almost up on a break. I think we want to just go ahead and do a little business, and we come right back to more on Wilfred Jackie Edwards.
And we're back. Yeah, Richie, I'm just listening to this guy's voice. So one of the things that I use to measure an artist, that you can't compare. And of course you can't change how your voice sounds, but you can, use your range and everything. there are some artists, regardless of how much songs them do, them sound the same way in all of them songs.
Yeah.
And then you have another set of talking like a Bob Marley or Dennis Brown or
Adaptation.
that thing where notwithstanding producers, we're talking about delivery. You know, it's like method actors.
Right.
There are some actors that have a little thing about them. Them do the same thing with their mouth or them, you know, clench them jaw, whatever it is. And you notice that in all of their movies. Same thing with some singers. You notice certain things in all their songs. Jackie Edwards, one of those artists who manage to change the way it sound in all them songs. Not a similar feeling, don't get me wrong. But and I can call a name. Say for instance a half pint song. Most of half pint songs,
You know, once
it sound the same way. You know, all the delivery is very, very similar. You know, Jackie Edwards managed to sound different in all of his songs. Now, in the 60s, there was a young lady who she was one of those people who, as Richie used to say, kicked down the door with her song, My Boy Lollipop. And at the time, she was part of, as I would call it, the stables of Island Records, Chris Blackwell. Now, Chris paired both Jackie and Millie together, resulted in a couple of duets. Well, not just a couple, but I'm going to play three of them for you. This song, The Vow, was the cover of Eunice and Jean, or Jean and Eunice.
We call it Lick Over.
And before that, I played This Is My Story, and of course, I started off with My Desire. Now, The Vow, it would be great if you're getting married in a rum bar, because once that song starts playing, when I put them three songs, I
rum bar too.
almost got on stage to get a drink of rum.
You want?
Come back up.
Yeah, we'll get a glass of white rum with some fresh milk. You know?
Yes, I'm no longer a milk drinker. I get almond milk.
Almond milk, don't see it. But seriously, three rum bar tune. What is interesting though, God, they when you listen to people who talk about Millie Small, and again, one of the reasons I'm really glad we do this kind of program.
You know, as I said, Richard, sorry for cutting my breath.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there will tell us only one song Millie do, and it's My Boy Lollipop. I mean, he did O. Henry and Sweet William.
Sweet William.
And thing.
But she had a brute of a career that people don't talk about. And I'm realizing that a lot of the people don't talk about Millie Small and the vastness of her career because they don't know. Because she did some work here with we have these duets with Jackie Edwards. But she also did with Roy Panton.
Yes.
And a number of other
we'll meet.
Other artists, Straight Up Cold, you think. But again, you have to be a connoisseur, if you will, of the music. Somebody who have more than a passing interest, I think. Because here we have you know, of course, both Jackie and Millie would have been taken to London with Chris Blackwell at the time when he was basically setting up Island Records, right? And I can now easily appreciate him taking them with him to England because, in addition to his record distribution, which was an integral part of the growth stage of his business,
right?
Recording would have been a big part as well, and having these two artists that you basically, well, them come from Jamaica, so they have no real standing in England. So you kind of have them as a captive. And if you know, so you have them in a market where they are producing Jamaican-based songs for that diaspora market that is now forming there in the United Kingdom.
Yep.
And so it easily understood. Granted, over time, it became clear that Jackie Edwards was more suited for writing songs because I think he had a couple of other pieces that he put out, but they weren't as successful as the first 3 or 4 songs that he did. Right. And so Blackwell decided to sort of relegate him to a position where he was now writing songs
Listen, but
for a number of
if you're just if what's the name, Carol King,
right,
is any indication of what success could be
as a
as a
writer.
songwriter, I can tell you.
And Carol King she can hold her own as a vocalist.
If you can get a good label and your songs that are written, you don't have to sing a song to save your life. Just songwriting alone will be enough for you. As long as you're publishing right and you get your proper royalties, you're good to go. Another person indicator that is Babyface. If you go to Atlanta, Georgia tomorrow and rob Babyface of every single penny him have, take them house, all them car them, and everything, I guarantee you that at the end of this week, just from royalties alone,
Cover it up.
I'm good to go. The amount of songs that he's successful songs.
And I think this is the unknown side of Jackie Edwards, because people talk about, I've listened to people talking about Jackie Edwards' work back home in Jamaica, and the tendency is to look at those songs that he did, the couple of those early songs
Did
that
before he left Jamaica.
But nobody would have. You have to be a purist to be able to identify his work outside of Jamaica, and have a big enough interest in terms of what he was doing. But the Spencer Davis group, that also would have helped put him on the map, because clearly royalties, again, this is a British group too. And if you remember, those youngsters at the time would have been younger than him, because Jackie would have been in his early 20s. These guys were about 14, 15 years old. But be that as it may, they also helped to carve out a little space for him in the marketplace in terms of his written and recorded work.
A song that reminds me to of Boogie Woogie Rock and Roll is this song. Yeah, the name of that song is We're Gonna Love. And clearly I can tell you, this song was nothing at all to do with Jamaica.
No.
Except Jackie Edwards.
Well, I was about to make that correction. It had everything to do with Jamaica because it was written by Jamaica. But I think the point though is Blackwell was setting up an operation, a music-driven operation, and Jackie Edwards was a major part of it. Now, keep in mind, Jackie had done I think within the first couple of months of being in the UK, he had done an album. The album, though, didn't do very well, right? And so Blackwell kind of, as I said earlier, figured that he may be better off using him, taking advantage of his writing skills, if you will. And so this is where this come in, because the Spencer Davis group, which Blackwell was managing, the group had done some work as well, but wasn't realizing much success. I think they had a couple of near misses, if you will, in terms of hits. And when he wrote the two pieces that he wrote for them that charted, went to #1, basically now pointed him in a direction that he could write music for this group. And so a lot of the songs that Jackie Edwards was now putting on were written work for the group. Granted, I think the group kind of split up within a few years. But even so, Jackie Edwards' prowess as a songwriter would have now gained.
Hi there. If you enjoyed that clip, go on over to our website at yardmedia.com, where you can watch the entire broadcast at your leisure. And while you're there, why don't you check out our other reggae music features? And before you leave, pick up some of our Jamaican reggae merchandise, and hey, don't forget to tell your friends.